I'm Fletcher Rhoden, and this is Quotes and Quips. Today, words of wisdom from George Santayana. Quotes and Quips is brought to you by FletcherRhoden.com. That's my website. There you can find links to my Amazon.com author page, where you can buy my books in their various formats, paperback, Kindle, and audiobook. There's a link to my Spotify artist page. There you can download my music in its various subgenres. I've got new music for 2024. You can download my music really anywhere across the internet. But at my website, there's some free music that you can only get there, so check it out. Well, George Santayana is apparently the man who gives us this quote. "Those who do not know their past are doomed to repeat it." Those who do not know the past are doomed to repeat it. Now, I've heard this ascribed to a lot of people, so I can't really tell you with certainty who originated this. But it's a good one. Those who don't know the past, sometimes paraphrased as, those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it. It's basically the same thing. That could even be the actual quote. And the past could be a misquote. It's one of those, it's really been passed around a lot. But it's a good one. And it's one that we really, really, really should be keeping in mind in 2024. This is a tumultuous year for us, politically dangerous. It could be it'll be a turning point either way. Whichever way the election goes at the end of 2024, the result will be, it will be impossible to underestimate the effect of the result of the election. If democracy prevails, well, that's a biggie. And if fascism rises, that's a biggie too. It's not inconsequential. So this is the year of all years to remember the quote, "Those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it." Now, as it is often true in these political things, people on both sides can use the quote. Conservatives can say, you know, if you don't know the history, you're doomed to repeat it, because they're the fascists. And then, of course, the left, they're saying history, doomed to repeat it, because they're fascists. So a lot of it becomes name-calling. But words do have meaning. And what's important is that you, individually, decide for yourself whom you believe really has the best interests of the nation at heart. And who has their own best interests at heart. Ask yourself who to believe, who's lying to you and who's telling you the truth. Because in this instance, they're not both right. They both may believe that they are, or they may not. But one of them is either misled or misleading, misguided or misguiding. And you have to figure out for yourself what path you think is best for this country. So that's this year. That's the political year. And it's true. If you don't know your history, you are doomed to repeat it. But here's the thing. It's always the bad part of history that you have to repeat. It's never, the Jazz Age or the Boom era, It's never the gold rush that you have to be aware of or you're going to repeat it. I'm aware of the gold rush. Where's my gold? Right? Well, actually, I'm having it right now with the strongest economy we've had in a long time, with great numbers, with an excellent overall view for the future, hopefully. But it really isn't ever the good parts of history that you're doomed to repeat, or you wouldn't be doomed. Doomed to repeat them. It's not that people who don't know their history are blessed to repeat it. It's always doomed Because it's always the bad part of history that you forgot. You know? And, all right, conservatives may say, well, that's the Great Depression that's coming. If you forgot the Great Depression, you're doomed to repeat it if you stick with the liberals. The liberals are saying, well, it's fascism that's the part of history you're forgetting, and that's the part that's going to doom you. So you kind of have to choose which is more likely, depression or dictatorship. Which would you rather have? I mean, I use the word dictatorship because that's the word they're using. And I'm a liberal guy. I try to stay out of the politics when I can. Personally, I'm a liberal guy. So, but either way, no matter what you are, you gotta know what you're looking back on. Is it the depression that you're worried about recurring in 2025, so you want to vote conservative to avoid a depression? Do you really know what caused the depression? Do you really know your history? You may know that it happened. Do you know what the economic forces were and the socio-political forces were around it? If you don't, and you're making your decision based on that, then you should really look into it. Educate yourself. Read about it. There's got to be a YouTube video on it. Causes for the Great Depression. I'm sure it's on YouTube. But if that's the basis for your vote, then you got to know the history of it. You got to know the history. Not just know that it was in history. Same thing with fascism. If you're really truly afraid of fascism on the rise here in the United States, then it behooves you to know your history, learn about it. What causes fascism to arise? What causes it to be embraced? What causes a dictator to be embraced by certain elements of a population, of a national society, as it is now? You have to look into it. What makes fascism appealing to people? What creates it? What gives it rise? Just like the Depression, what gave it rise? What circumstances created it? If you're going to vote based on one of these two things, then you have to know the details of them. And if you know the details of them, then go ahead and vote your conscience. But don't do it not knowing. Because then you are doomed to repeat history. It's not just you're doomed to repeat history. It's those who don't know it. It's the knowing of it that counts. The knowing of it is what changes the doom of it. So, George Santayana, or whoever gives us this quote, thank you. And we will continue to look back on our history and look ahead toward our future here on Quips and Quotes. I'm here every Monday at noon on this YouTube channel. I leave the reruns up. You can always check them out. You can also watch my show from last year, Tracking the Lone Wolf. That's on another YouTube channel of that title, Tracking the Lone Wolf. Go to my website, check out my music and my books. Come back here next week. And until then, bye, Mary.